Well, good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for coming out today with this weather challenge day, if you will. I'm Jenifer Pool, and I'm running for City Council. Someone else? Yes.
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say I think that it's amazing that you're running, and it's certainly historic. And so I wanted to touch on that historic aspect. And I know I already hear some of the bigots who, like David Welch, who is already on record. He went on Jon Stewart saying that people who are Muslim should be banned from serving the public as in any political way. Would you take some time and kind of address any of those issues, those questions that may be bubbling in the bigot community out there?
You know, you have to stop and think about that everybody's different. And sometimes tolerance has to go both ways. Only problem with people, and I'm not going to address directly at the man you mentioned, but in general, people who find themselves only complaining, only looking at for the negative in people, must live a very dark life. And my first thought for someone like that and people like him is to pray for their soul, because they must live in a very dark world. I live in a world that has smiles in it, that's a world of light. People need to understand that we all occupy this same city, this same world. I don't want to get too out there, but the fact is that we do. We need to care about one another. In my opening statement, I said, I was taught to love and service to God and country. People like that, I don't hear God or country in what they're saying. And for that, I'm disappointed. To more address the direct negativism, I think anybody that wants to eliminate a citizen of the United States from being able to hold office because of their own personal prejudice has not really read the Constitution. They may talk about it, but they haven't read it. I have. I remember reading that in a time when I was in middle school where you had civics classes, and we spent whole years learning about the Constitution, learning about the Bill of Rights, spending time on the Declaration of Independence, understanding the country we live in and the opportunities we have. As far as the negativism you're talking about, I expect it to happen. As a transgender person, I have been subjected to prejudice from the moment I told the very first person who I really was inside. And because of that, those people I just can't tolerate. I can only pray for them because they are lost. They need to stop and listen to themselves and to listen and learn. Usually people like that are coming from ignorance. I'm not going to address the individual personally because I don't want to make it personal. I think in general anybody who has prejudice and hatred toward another is ignorant of who they are. See, I believe that the most beautiful part of a person is their heart and their soul. And that's not on the outside. And that's not the clothes they wear, or the makeup, or the lack thereof. See, and if people would look at that more, and the rest less, the world would be a whole lot better place. And this could be a beautiful city. I want to thank you.
2 years ago, Strauss became the first Jewish Speaker of the State House, but that meant trouble when he came up for re-election in January.
Republican groups across the state have surfaced calling for Strauss to be removed in favor of a, quote, more Christian speaker.
But twas this really a case of anti-Semitism, or twas it, as has been the case throughout Jewish history, a simple misunderstanding? I spoke to one of the leaders of the Oust Strauss movement, David Welch of the Texas Pastor Council.
Joe Strauss's faith was never part of this issue and isn't to this moment.
So this is not about him being Jewish?
Not at all. We called out and raised up the call that we didn't have to accept Joe Strauss as the anointed one.
All Welch cares about is that people vote their faith, whatever that faith is. So, in 90% Christian Texas, Jews would get a fair 10% of the vote.
The principles, we believe, that are good for all are what we should be following, and that doesn't mean that we have a religious litmus test for the elected official.
Can we at least agree that we don't want a Muslim speaker?
I would say right now, yes, for a variety of reasons. Again, we have deep concerns about the loyalty of Muslims to the Constitution.
Right, so you say to your congregation, you can vote for whoever you want, regardless of their denomination,
right,
apart from a Muslim.
Yes.
And lo, they did contradict themselves.
Well, some local religious leaders are blasting Mayor Anise Parker's recent decision to expand the city's anti-discrimination policy. As we told you last week, Mayor Parker issued an executive order to include transgendered city employees in that policy. But today, the Houston Area Pastor Council called that move, quote, an attack on decency, and said that it should be overturned.
Houston City Council member Jolanda Jones says she was fighting for one of her staff members' dignity when she began pushing for a change in the city's anti-discrimination policy.
It was highly inappropriate for the mayor to take this action, knowing that twice before the voters of Houston have rejected this premise of extending recognition to sexual behavior under city law.
Dave Welch is the president of the Houston Area Pastors Council. He says the diverse group of Houston religious leaders will work to change the city's charter or to find a legal remedy to the mayor's executive order.
Well, she may have the legal right. What we also know is the people have the legal right to hold her accountable and to overturn this, which is our full intent.
Now is Dave Welch. He's the executive director of the Houston Area Pastor Council. And Kristen Williams, she is the executive director of the Transgender Foundation of America.
When that child comes out, we've been blessed with 6 of them. We don't have to have a committee and a study on what that is. We hold up and say it's a boy or it's a girl.
To be intersexed.
Well, you can't legislate and have public policy around a fractional percentage of a population.
Yes, but whenever that population has a basis in biology, we have to recognize that, and we have to deal with that.
We can't undefine an institution that has been the foundation of our society over a fraction of 1%. That's pretty clear at this point, and we have to defend
so
what
your
marriage
argument is majority rules, and those people who are born this way, they're just out of luck.
No, we have to legislate on what is right.
Well, clearly, you're both at odds. It certainly is an issue with a lot of complexities, and like I said earlier, there's no way that we're going to get through it all today. So we definitely, though, appreciate your thoughts. Dave Welch from the Houston Area Pastor Council and Kristen Williams, the executive director of the Transgender Foundation of America.
In an America where the separation of church and state is absolute. I believe in an America that is officially neither Catholic, Protestant, nor Jewish, where no public official either requests or accepts instructions on public policy from the Pope, the National Council of Churches, or any other ecclesiastical source. Where no religious body seeks to impose its will, directly or indirectly, upon the general populace or the public acts of its officials.